everybody. Welcome to Season 2 of Let's Make Comics. Apparently we're doing seasons now. I didn't even know it. Thank you to the tens of you out there that have helped make this the rousing success. Success being a very subjective term. If you're new to Let's Make Comics, it's me, Stephen Emond. I am an artist and a writer. I've done 3 young adult novels. I've done a comic book series. I am co-creator of Machina, a new spooky comics publisher, and I have a web comic called Have Heart coming out this month. And this is my show. This is my YouTube show where I talk about making comics, and I give as many tips and pointers as I can. I talk about my process and the things I've done to get to where I've gotten in the industry, and the hope is it can help you out. If you dig this show, please give it a like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about thumbnails. About a week ago on Twitter, everybody was doing a before and after challenge, and it was basically showing your thumbnails. It was showing that initial sketch that you do and then the final art that came out of it. And it was definitely interesting going through and seeing people's thumbnails, you know, that first image that you have in your head the first time you get it down on paper, trying to capture that, you know, that image, that thought that you want to put down there. You know, your thumbnail is the first time you really it's the first step that you take towards making it a real thing. And seeing the difference between the before and the after is always interesting. Seeing that polished, gorgeous piece, you know, versus the really rough sketch. That's always interesting. And it's also interesting to see how people thumbnail. What is it exactly that they're trying to capture in that thumbnail? Is it really just about where I'm going to place things? Is it about the weight of, you know, spotting your blacks, as they're called, you know, where the heavy spots, and does it balance out? Is it about capturing the energy and the movement? Is it about trying to get a likeness? Everybody kind of does their thumbnails in a slightly different way. So I thought for today's episode, I would show you a bunch of my before and after, show you what I was trying to go for, what it was that I was trying to capture in my thumbnail, and maybe show like stages of thumbnails. So sometimes I'm doing something and it's practically a stick figure, and then it's something that I doodle really fast on a sticky note. Then it's kind of a rough marker drawing on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and then I blow it up into pencils on 11 by 17. Sometimes you're drawing the same image over and over and over again, each time refining it a little bit more, which a lot of people do digitally now too. So I thought we'd take a quick look at some of my thumbnails and show how that rough sketch becomes a finished piece of art. Let's go make some comics. All right, so I don't have a firm idea of exactly what we're going to do here, but I figure we'll take a look at some before and after stuff. Right here we have a thumbnail that I created for a Midsummer piece. And this one I had tried to take a couple different elements from Midsummer and put them together. The movie had just come out not that long ago. I didn't really want to do spoilers, but I wanted to do something with the bear and something with flowers. So in this thumbnail, it was more about getting the look of the bear right and about finding the colors. If you see here, I used a screen grab from the movie to kind of get the color of the sky right, which I ended up doing in physical media. So I was trying to recreate this color scheme. I have a actual bear that I used as reference in my drawing. So that's the thumbnail, and this is the finished piece. So you can see everything here I did in a physical media, but it was kind of figuring out what the picture was going to be, where the placement was, how big should the bear be, and just getting a feel for it. This is a Spawn piece I did. These were all done kind of, not all of these, but these in particular were done last summer. I was doing a lot of different horror pieces. Let's see here. So you can see this is kind of the layout, the colors. I wanted the red to kind of stand out as this bold color, and I was trying to play with shapes. The initial sketch that I did, If I change the opacity here, this is the actual little sketch I did in my sketchbook. And then I scanned it in, started playing with bold colors and shapes. This is the finished piece. Kind of laid down some foil and all kinds of textures and paint and splatter. And just for fun, here's my broken back spawn from I think like 2015 or so. Yeah, 2015 I did this one. I think it's kind of a cool picture. I was doing really weird warped bodies at that point, but yeah, his poor back, that just does not look comfortable. So I wanted to do a series of prints for a little while that were going to be song lyrics. When I was moving, I was thinking like, what kind of stuff do I want to put on my walls? And I was thinking music for some reason, and I was like, nobody's ever really made prints for, you know, famous songs or whatever. So I did a few like 80s songs. It didn't really go too far, but so this one for This one's for Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. Maybe you heard of it. Point of the thumbnail in this one was figuring out what the design was going to be. You see I got some like sloppy, you know, I should be drawing on this. See I've got some sloppy hands going on over here. These guys I just kind of pulled out of a YouTube video. And then a big part of this was trying to figure out how his face was going to look. So trying to get his likeness. Let's see here. I don't know if I used photo reference. I probably did. Oh, that's my body. Yeah, I used photo reference of myself. Here we go. Yeah, so I used some photo references of his face, different shots, just trying to kind of get his features right. So that's the thumbnail that I printed out, and here's the finished version, which is hanging on my wall now. Full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. It was very conceited, that Rick Astley. Okay, so here's thumbnails I did for a illustrated short story I was doing. It's kind of an autobiographical story. So I did these in the iPad, just trying to get a feel for panel layout, where the characters are going to be, where there's going to be word bubbles. So really just kind of figuring out the placement of everything, and then the finished version. So obviously, big difference. Finished version's all watercolor and paints and stuff like that. But the actual placement of the characters and word balloons and text and all that were found in this thumbnail. Here's my Simpsons piece. This was based on the Treehouse of Horror. I kind of went through all the different Treehouse of Horrors trying to pick out as many iconic things as I could find. So this was actually done on a sticky note. So this was very tiny. Just trying to figure out how can I make the treehouse and how many things can I fit around it and where. So this little highlighter and sticky note drawing was pretty close to what the finished version came to. You can see here, obviously the size and scope of things change quite a bit, but for the most part, everything's right there in the thumbnail. So this is a different kind of thumbnail. This was from the comic book that Jan and I kickstarted for Machina Corpse. Our first comic book. So I kind of designed this cover image, which I very quickly did up in Photoshop, just kind of putting a bunch of textures around. So it's kind of just, again, placement, texture, colors. How big should the skull be? How big should the podium be? Where are we going to place the title and all that? So this is the thumbnail, and this is the finished version. Obviously quite a lot changed there. Skull got a lot bigger. Flowers came to the outside. It's a lot darker, a lot grittier. And the logo is completely different because we got a different logo. But, you know, the basic concept's there. So sometimes things can change quite a bit. Okay, here's a thumbnail for Donnie Darko. So this was several different sketches I did, just trying to get the likenesses down for Jake Gyllenhaal and the different characters. And the rabbit was the easiest one, actually. So I was trying to do more of a square image. And the final version, placement changed a little bit. Concept was there. Everything pretty much stayed the same. It's just, it's the same, but it's different. It's the thumbnail. It's very loose. It's very basic, but the idea of the three characters, the town in the background, that all stayed the same. Here's a thumbnail I did for the comic for Machina Corpse for First Offerings. I did a comic called 1983. This is the second page. It's kind of a composite of stuff that I sketched in my sketchbook. I kind of bring it all into Photoshop, lay down some gray tones to kind of show what I'm going to be focusing on. I can see that I cut out the girl here and moved her around a little bit. There's the different elements. This is the final version. So, see, I kind of moved stuff down a little bit. I made more space for all those dialogue boxes. But the actual placements of things are pretty close to what I had in the original thumbnail there. This is a piece I did for editor Julie. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Sienna. I'm going to say Shina. Julie. So the big part of this, this is a more thorough thumbnail for sure. This is trying to get all these different elements in for this piece that I wanted. These are all things that were in her office and around her house. All these little trinkets that are kind of who she is and the things that she's collected and worked on. I got a lot of hidden things here that are probably, so I got this little sketchy drawing here, which is supposed to be the Mysterious Benedict Society. There's the Harry Potter books up here. Beautiful creatures over here. So I kind of plop in these references. Even the moon is kind of a reference to a book that she worked on. So there's the thumbnail, and there's the final. So even with all the different references and things that I plop in there, it's still all hand drawn and hand painted. So this is from that same short graphic novel story comic book thing that I did. Here's a thumbnail all done on an iPad, just trying to get the colors and what's going to go in each box, how much space do I have for dialogue, trying to keep stuff like color scheme a little bit in mind. I'm not the greatest with color schemes and stuff like that, but trying to keep it balanced basically. So there's the thumbnail, and there's her final. Thumbnail, final. I feel like an optometrist. Before, after. Okay, here's a little thumbnail for a character that I had created called Jasmine. This was from a story pitch that went nowhere. So this was another kind of quick sketch done on paper with just kind of pen highlighter for shading and just trying to get the design down and get the character likeness down. Here's our before, and there's our after. Apparently she got rid of her dinosaur style buildings on her back. That's got to be nice for her. I like this picture though. That was fun. So send me your before and afters. Find us on Twitter, Machina Corpse, Instagram. Just tag us. I'd love to see your process. I'd love to see your before and afters. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below or find us on social media. I'm happy to talk, answer it. Again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.